Hi, I'm Danielle, and this is Chatter Out Loud, a podcast where I share thoughts and TV commentary on shows I like to watch. Now, before I start, I want to ask that you go ahead and like, follow, share, and subscribe. And on YouTube, where I upload my companion episode of my podcast, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This way, you can get a notification every time I post a new episode, and you won't miss out. It doesn't cost you anything to follow and subscribe, so go ahead, click the bell, and thanks in advance. All right, so welcome everyone. Welcome back. I thank you so much for joining me up front, and your presence is very much appreciated. All right, so let's chat a little bit about episode 5 of Big Brother Canada season 10. BBCAN10. This episode was geared around the aftermath of the Power of Veto ceremony, where we saw JC Lynn remove herself from the block and Marty replaced her with Betty. Betty, of course, was upset, but she tried to remain positive until Kevin tried to talk to her in the bathroom. She strongly felt that Kevin had a lot to do with her being up on the block. They kept referencing Kevin having a beer with Marty, and they just interpreted that as that's who the person was to get her on the block. So she was very, very angry with Kevin. And that would explain why she told him that he's a bad person and she has nothing to say to him. Yeah, and it was just so... It wasn't funny. I don't know the right word. Maybe odd that Kevin's like, well, when you're ready to talk, or, he was steady. I thought it was kind of like antagonizing Betty a little bit by continuing to try to speak with her and saying, well, I'm open to talk and all this. It just was, Kevin. All right, we see Tanisha and Summer having a bonding moment, and the way it sounds, they'll be friends outside the house. Summer can't wait to meet her daughter. Tanisha thinks Summer is very authentic, so that was nice to see. And we can see that in the feeds, right, and how they interact with one another. Clearly, they're aligned with each other. They're in their own alliance, and they're playing the game together. All right, Jay and Dr. Josh are talking and trying to figure out a way that they can stay in the house. Meanwhile, Betty confronted Marty for lying, and he just shrugged his shoulders. And I found that to be very, very interesting. But then again, that's part of the Big Brother game, right? Deceit is part of the game. And at that point, it just seemed like Marty's like, listen, I'm tired of fighting or, explaining. And all he had left in him was to shrug his shoulders. And I'm like, yep, I get it, Marty. All right. What I hope is that this is lighting a fire under Betty. And we kind of see that at the end of the episode, right? We'll talk about that in a minute. So at this point, neither Jay or Betty are giving up. And I love it. Play into the end. That's how you have to do. They switched to another nice moment where Jay brought all of the house guests into smudging. It surrounds cleansing and a rebirth. I wasn't familiar with smudging. Sorry, I wasn't familiar with smudging. So I'm going to have to look more into that and just learn more about it. But I learned something tonight, so that was good. After that nice moment and nice segment, they quickly return back to gameplay. Helena is trying to convince Betty she can trust her and she has her vote. They're supposed to be in an alliance together, but Helena has been talking around this house, outing alliances, making deals with people. And while she is there telling Betty, you can trust her or you can trust me and you have my vote. Yet in the DR, she keeps saying things like, well, Jay is better for my game and going back and forth. Or what should I do? And maybe she's doing that for the show and for the camera, because in the end, she did honor her word. Let's put it that way. But I guess what I'm trying to say is Helena is steadily playing the game. And we like to see that too. All right. Throughout the episode, Arissa was teasing the audience saying there's a big wedding announcement. And it turned out to be the former house guest Dimitri asked to propose to his girlfriend in the BB house. And it was right before the new BBCAN cast, BBCAN10 cast moved inside the house. And the girlfriend is who? Ika. Right? She's the most notable player in BBCAN for me, right? She was early, when I saw her was BBCAN 2. Yeah, she was in season 2 and then again in season 5. Now, I haven't watched an entire season of BBCAN. I've watched Ica in season 2. And the things I remember about her, I felt like she was kind of isolated in the house. She only had Adele, and I liked the two of them. And I remember her shredding those letters. I guess that was a really, really big deal, and that pissed off the rest of the house guests. But anyway, I don't know Dimitri, but he was in her showmance, or they were in a showmance in season 5 when Ica returned. Anyway, it was a sweet segment. Ica still looks good, and I'm happy for her. So congratulations to Dimitri and Ica. All right, on their engagement. Okay. All right, so we get to the eviction. There's 12 votes for this eviction. They wind up voting Jay out 10-2. The people that voted for Jay are Gino, Helena, Summer, Kevin, Jay, Steph, Moose, Tanisha, Jess, and Dr. Josh. They all voted to evict Jay. And then Herman and Kyle voted to evict Betty. Yeah, and they were doing the whole ice in the veins thing. I mean, it's so played. They need to find a new signal or sign for their alliance. It's ridiculous. And then Stephanie and I'm gonna have to go look once the episode airs. But Stephanie and JC Lynn both did this rubbing of the hands and smoothing over something like that. They both did that signal. Well, I only saw the two of them. I don't know if anyone else did that same signal. So I have to catch up on the live feeds. I haven't been keeping up. I have to catch up to figure out what's going on there. What alliance is happening there, Okay, one observation that I did want to make is that Arissa told Jay once he was voted out of the house. And by the way, Jay was a good sport leaving the house. They did a handstand and right out the door. The handstand right out the door. One observation I want to say, when Arissa was interviewing Jay, the exit interview, she told Jay who the 2 votes were to evict Betty. And so in that moment, I thought, I guess there's no battle back in Canada, maybe, because she's telling them who voted for the other person. So can someone tell me if that's a thing? Does Canada have a battle back? We see that in BBUS, or maybe it's because of the panini. I don't know. All right. And Jay was a good sport leaving. I already said that. Okay. There was enough time in the episode. I didn't think they were going to make it for them to air the HOH comp. And the reason I didn't think they were going to make it is because I was under the assumption that this was a live HOH. And it might be a live in terms of they taped it live and now they're airing it, but it's not live in terms of it's happening in real time where we're watching it. They do that in BBUS too. Anyway, the HOH competition was called Ice Cold. They had to ski down the track, and the furthest wins the HOH. A lot of them took a running start, and they have to be careful so they won't slide off of the track. So it's a delicate balance. You want to give enough power where you get down the track, but not so much where you're going to slide off. And at first I couldn't tell what they were measuring against, because I see people's head past a certain number or a certain mark, and then they said the number before it. And as more people got on that little sled, I saw the little line. So I'm like, oh, that's how they're measuring it. They had a little line in the middle of the sled, and that was how they marked the score, right? All right. And what did we not want to see? Well, I didn't want to see. The winner of the HOH was Kyle. Yeah, he won. But the good news is that Arissa announced that Bel Air Direct Protection Insurance will help, or I guess they're sponsoring the audience voting to keep a house guest safe for the week, right? So Canada gets the vote. Try to protect someone in the house. It's being sponsored by Bel Air Direct. I would love to see the audience vote to keep either Summer or Tanisha. Personally, that's who I want to keep safe. But we have to see. And we know anytime the audience gets involved in voting, it really sends a key message to the other house guests in that you can tell who is being favored, who's liked, who's disliked, So we love these type of votes, right? We want to tell Kyle, we don't like you, Kyle. So what do you think about Kyle being the HOH? I'm not happy about it, but it's happened, The good thing is about him being HOH this week is that he won't be able to be HOH next week. And whatever disaster he plans for his week of HOH will haunt him in the next. And I look forward to it. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Summer and Tanisha, hopefully they will be safe. All right. So let's chat it up in the comments. Let me know what you think. And that's all I have. So be sure to come back and give me a listen. I'd love for you to like, share, follow, and subscribe. You can also leave me a comment, leave me a message. If you're listening to the podcast, there's a link to leave me a message right on the landing page. So please check that out. Right? All right, my name is Danielle, and you're listening to my podcast, Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. And as always, I appreciate your support. And that's all I have. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.